Shmini Atzeret is the end of the high holiday season. It's a holiday about finding joy during moments of ambiguity and uncertainty. It's a powerful and optimistic message of the possibility of hope and renewal, even when it feels like everything is still kind of falling apart. It is hard to tell, though, what it actually is in the Torah. Is it the last day of Sukkot? Yes. Is it a completely independent holiday? Also, yes. The Torah is not really clear. In Sefer Bamidbar, the book of Numbers, it says, "On the 8th day you will have a solemn gathering. You shall not work at your occupations." So it sounds like Shmini Atzeret is the 8th day of Sukkot. However, there's a different mention of Shmini Atzeret in the Torah. In the book of Leviticus, Sefer Vayikra, it says, "On the 15th day of the 7th month, there will be a feast of booths, Sukkot, that would last 7 days. The first day is a sacred occasion. 7 days you'll bring offerings by fire, and on the 8th day you'll observe a sacred occasion and bring an offering by fire. It is a solemn gathering." And a few verses later it says, "You'll observe it as a festival of the Lord for 7 days. You will live in Sukkot 7 days." So our sages noticed an ambiguity here. Shmini Atzeret seems to be the last day of Sukkot, but at the same time, the Torah says that Sukkot is 7 days. So how can something be the 8th day of a 7-day festival? But fortunately, our sages looked at the ambiguity as a feature and not as a flaw, and as an opportunity to be creative. They created an additional holiday on top of Shmini Atzeret, which they called Simchat Torah, or when I grew up, we called Simchat Torah. And this celebrates the finishing of the annual Torah reading and the beginning again. In Israel, both of these holidays occur on the same day, but outside of Israel, they're largely celebrated as 2 different days of Yontif. The first day is Shmini Atzeret, the second day we call Simchat Torah, but they're both really Shmini Atzeret. So let me share with you why I think they did this, and why they used the name Zman Simchatenu, the season of our rejoicing, for the complete time of Sukkot and Shmini Atzeret and Simchat Torah, which is the end of the high holiday season. So the holidays of Tishrei represent a cycle of spiritual rebirth and renewal. Rosh Hashanah is the birthday of the world. We are created anew with new potential and possibilities to become the people that we want to be. You hear my cat George right now. I'm going to feed him after I make the video. On Yom Kippur, through repentance and introspection, we think about how to remove or transform our most difficult qualities and relationships. Sukkot is about rebuilding our lives and thinking about the walls we have around us. Which walls shelter us? Which divide us? Which walls need to stay up and which need to come down? Shmini Atzeret is the 8th day. This has echoes of when Adam and Eve left the Garden of Eden, which was the 8th day of creation. They felt vulnerable and insecure, heading into a new and unfamiliar world. They created a meaningful life, even though the challenges never ended. Shmini Atzeret, with Simchat Torah, celebrates our potential for creating meaning and goodness no matter what is happening in our lives and in the world, as long as we stay connected to the values of our traditions and to each other. And that is why now and all times can always be the time of our rejoicing. Zaman Simchatenu.